Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Amber Marie, better known as XO Duchess all across the internet. I specialize in beauty, business, and behind the scenes. I am a digital marketing enthusiast as well as a brand strategist. What I'm bringing you guys today is some of my top 2020 Boss Babes must read books. All of these are available on Audible, which is my typical form of book consumption. I will pick up a good paperback or hardback every now and then, but for my day-to-day, most importantly before I go to bed, I choose Audible. I am a big believer in what you allow your mind to consume in the last 15 minutes before you fall asleep and the first 15 minutes when you wake up really sink deep into your consciousness and are absorbed extremely well. I also believe that that is the time that manifestation power is the highest. So first 15 minutes when you wake up, last 15 minutes before you go to bed, I choose to absorb Audible books. If I'm not doing a meditation, I'm most certainly doing a Boss Babe 2020 fave from this list. These are books that I will read over and over like they are the Bible. I study them religiously and I hope that you guys enjoy them as well. If that's what you came for, keep on watching. So the first book on my Audible that I feel like every boss babe, girl, entrepreneur needs to read like today is Lean In. It is about women, work, and the will to lead by my girl Sheryl Sandberg, and it is a lot of times you'll hear me talk to people, especially when they're going through some type of adversary or a tough time, and they're like, what would you recommend for this time? Like, you know, I'm really going through it, and my number one advice is always lean the fuck in. Where did I get that from? This book. It's amazing. You guys have to check it out. I love her voice, and she speaks with such passion and just fire whenever she's talking that it really sets the tone and puts you in that mood to be that girl. Number two up, another fantastic fave, and I adore her books in general, is Oprah Winfrey. This book, what I know for sure, is a great. It's about 4 hours long and it is just such a good read. It's one of those ones that I started, actually, I was on the way to Seattle and I was using it as my airplane kind of time passer. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it a lot. This is actually the first book of hers that I read, and I binged it the entire time, finished it in that one flight. I'm in Texas, so it's, you know, about a 4.5 hour flight, so finished it in the entire time and I was hooked. The book right after that, what I know for sure, and probably one of my favorite on the list in terms of transformative content, is The Path Made Clear by Oprah Winfrey. This book is such a beautiful book, especially whenever you're on a new path or you're paving a new way or you feel like there is just something calling on the inside to push you to be greater, but you're not sure what that is. This is the book for you. In this book, one of my favorite, there's so many taglines. I literally have an entire note page all with catchphrases from The Path Made Clear, but one of my favorite is the oak and the acorn analogy, and it talks about you being the oak and the acorn. Grant, think about it, an acorn that's like this big literally grows such a strong and massive tree with such deep roots that's unshakable and unmovable and just strong and regal. That is what the oak and the acorn moment is. And if that's where you are right now, that book's for you. So, Path Made Clear, gotta check it out. Up next, this is one that actually ties back to one of my favorite movies of all times, which is The Wolf of Wall Street. I love business. I love stocks. I do dabble in the stock market, and The Wolf of Wall Street just did it for me. I love the entire movie. I love the whole aesthetic of it. It's very me. So whenever I ran across this book that was actually by Jordan Belfort, who was The Wolf of Wall Street, it's actually called Way of the Wolf. He narrates the book also, and it is such an empowering, hilarious book. and it is for people who are into sales. It's about streamlined sales. It's about his process that he designed to be foolproof when implemented correctly. And it just has so many good little snippets in there that are relatable. He's down to earth. He makes it fun. He has like this little raspy voice that is just fantastic. Sometimes I'll literally click on this book and I'll just like scroll through chapters and click on something and start in the middle, and I'm immediately captivated. Like, that is how good this book is, and I learn something different every time I read it. So, Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort, it's a winner. Another one that I finished that I did like, but it was one of those ones like, okay, so have y'all ever read books and while you're reading it, you're like I'm gonna finish it because I'm kind of hooked, but I don't really know if I like it or not yet. And then you finish it and there's little bits of stuff that you absorb that are highly impactful. That's how this book was. It's called The Coaching Habit by Michael Bungay Stanier. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But the topic is say less, ask more, and change the way you lead forever. A lot of these books are going to be about leadership. Why? Because we're boss ass girls, honey, and that's what it's about. So fantastic. Again, some of the little catchphrases in there are really easily to implement in your day-to-day life. Not only that, maybe it's a book that's just going to knock your socks off. It wasn't really that for me, but it was a great, and it was one of my favorites of 2020 that I added to the list. The next one, and this is a book that will supersede 2020 for you. This is something that you should just put in your library of things to revert back to whenever you need to coach yourself or retrain or freshen up on your skill set, and that's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The guy who reads this book, the narrator, I'm not sure if it's the actual author. This is by Stephen R. Covey. But in this book in particular, his voice is kind of like vintage feeling to me. It's like a little old gentleman's voice, and it's just so calming and reassuring. But for me, and I know this is going to be different for everyone, but you know, there's like some audibles that the voice really makes it easy to retain the information. And then there's other voices that it kind of like travels and carries and you don't really remember what they were talking about. This gentleman's voice, the narrator in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it was so easily bingeable for me. Like, I listened, I absorbed, I go back to it several times throughout my life to just remember things, to see what I'm gonna pick up new, and it's just a fantastic one for me. This is another one right along the same lines. It is a book that I revert back to a ton, The Art of Seduction. Now, I love all of the books, The Art of Anything, The Art of War, The Art of Seduction, the 49 Laws of Power, A Pale White Horse. I've entertained all of them. Of all of them, The Art of Seduction is my favorite. And it's not even for the reason of actual seduction, but sometimes I will read a book that I know maybe potentially other people have read so that I can see and understand people's selling habits, or for lack of a better word, trying to run game on somebody, you know? And that way I can reverse engineer it to protect myself. And I think that that's an important way to absorb information as well. Yes, sometimes you're doing it so that you can take on new habits, but also it's good to read so that you can identify things that may be trying to use to manipulate you. So I love this book overall. It has a ton of different perspectives, and it was just really entertaining and riveting also, but it's a very good learning technique so that you can identify and flip situations when somebody's trying to run game on you. I like to call it peeping game through a player's eyes. So, Art of Seduction, it's a great. This next book up I actually found from a good friend of mine, Teresa Romer. She's a fellow influencer and YouTuber, so if you're watching, hey Teresa, love you girl. She recommended this book to me last year. I read it last year, I've read it again this year in 2020, and it's called Millionaire Success Habits by Dean I don't want to say his last name, by Dean, because I don't want to mess it up. Fantastic book. And it's funny because I didn't even realize, you know, I'm a hairstylist and makeup artist, that there's actually references in this book to a industry leader in the hair world. So again, one of those books I look back to a ton, Millionaire Success Habits. It is like a game changer. It talks about all areas of life and just one of those books that you cannot put down. The next one, the Bible. It's one of the ones that's just a yearly thing for me, and if you haven't picked it up in a while, I encourage you to do so. I love all chapters in it. The one that I'm currently reading the most is Revelations. If you're not in tune with what's going on in the world in 2020, it is, just read it. The Bible had to be on the list. 2020 Boss Babe must-haves. For all of my Christians out there, you know I'm a devout Catholic, honey, so it was a must-have for me. Okay, and last but not least, guys, when I tell you there is very little books that I can read over and over and over and over and over and over again, this is that book. I love her. I love everything about her. And it could just be because she is speaking to me in my season right now, but it is Dare to Lead by Brené Brown. I read this in 2019. I'm going to read it in 2020, and she's going to be on my list for a while because every time I pick her up, I learn something new again. Dare to Lead, Brené Brown. She's a game changer. She teaches you about vulnerability and being strong in vulnerability. She teaches you how to go up against opposition and to lead with courage and integrity. She teaches you to dare greatly. And what I love best is she talks about the fact that when you have a hater or somebody who just, you know, goes against the grain with you, that's okay, because sitting in the cheap seats is easy, and daring greatly is where the money is at. Not money in sense of financial stability, but money in sense of wealth, integrity, and internal. So Dare to Lead, Brené Brown. You guys, it is just one of the greats. It is just really one of the greats, and I'm looking through here to make sure that I didn't miss anything, but I didn't. So yeah, those are my top Audible books for 2020 for my boss babes. If you're a girl entrepreneur, if you are a baby boss who is just starting out, who is wanting to get the secrets of the industry, wanting to know the tricks of the trade, these are books that I truly recommend that you start with, because honey, they are game changers. And I also recommend that you should never take advice from somebody whose life that you wouldn't be willing to switch with. All of these authors, all of these people who sat down to take their time to spill out all this information on these beautiful pages for you, live it. And I think that is so important, to listen and absorb for people who are living through or have gone through or are gonna go through the things that you aspire to have. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video of my favorite 2020 Audible books for boss babes and girl entrepreneurs all around the world. I hope you enjoyed them. When you read them, let me know which ones you enjoyed the most, and drop down in the description box any books or recommendations that you guys have for me. And until next time, be well.